7's. Here's our learning targets. We're going to learn some vocabulary, data, tables, pictographs, bar graphs, bar charts, tally, and frequency. We're going to learn how to actually record data in tables, bar graphs, and pictographs. This is called a frequency table. You can see a couple things about the frequency table. Number one, it has a title. It also has what we're looking for. In this case, some kid is recording the number of birds at the feeder. And so he has the descriptors over here of the different types of birds that he sees, and the tally chart and the frequency chart. And we'll tackle the tally chart first. Every single time that the individual sees a blue jay, they just mark a little tally, right? Just like that. And once they've completed their time, let's say they do this for an hour, the frequency then is just the numerical or symbolic representation of the tally. So we know that these are 5, so you just write the actual number there. No more difficult than that. And what I want you to do is, or one thing you can do is you can, let's say you've got counting the number of letters in each of the first 50 words in a book that you're reading. You can do it in a tally chart. So you're going to see, a few of these. You're going to see a lot of these. You're going to see a lot of these. And this kind of information for most people wouldn't be very practical, but let's say you're really big into puzzles or cryptograms, and this actually really helps quite a bit. This is called a pictograph, and a pictograph is a way of representing data with symbols. And so you see like this, we don't have numbers on our tally chart, we actually have these apples. And every single apple, if you look at the key, every single image of an apple is actually worth 10 apples. And a half apple, obviously, then is worth 5 apples. So what do you think the title for this graph could be? Well, it could be Marvin's monthly consumption of apples. So in January, didn't have a very big month. February is a really big month for Marvin. He's got 40 apples that he's consumed. March 25, and then April 20. So making a bar graph, this is really commonly used in every aspect of business, education. Everybody uses bar graphs. Everybody needs to be able to learn to read bar graphs. And there's some characteristics. There's a Y descriptor. There's an X descriptor. There's bars, right, of different varying sizes. There's a scale on the y-axis, and there's some descriptors also on the x-axis, and those can flip, and we're going to talk about that. So what you can do is choose favorite sports among grade 7 students, and go around the class and ask tally charts. And I've done this already. I chose 4 sports: ping pong, 100-meter dash, yak riding, and underwater tennis. And I did my tally, and I found out that 7 people really like ping pong. That's their favorite. Only 2 people enjoy the 100-meter dash. We have a whopping 9 people who are yak riding enthusiasts, and we have 12 really die-hard underwater tennis viewers. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to create a bar graph. So we got our data here, and we look at the frequency chart right here. Now, ping pong was 7. So on my scale, actually, I'll go back to this for a second. I look at the largest number first of all. I see that 12 is my largest number. So I have to make sure that my y-axis goes all the way at least up to 12, and I'm going to leave a little space at the top. The descriptor on the y-axis is frequency, because that's when I go back here, that's how many times that sport was selected. At the bottom on the x-axis, which I've labeled with X, it's the Olympic sports, the sports that we've chosen. For ping pong, the first choice, we said it was 7, so 7 people. So I'm going to make a bar that is 7, and you can see it's 7 because it's in line right here with the y-axis 7. Next, I'm going to go back to my data. I'm going to see in the 100-meter dash, there were 2 people who thought the 100-meter dash is the best. So I'm going to make a bar graph representing 2. And so I rise it up 2. Now, a couple things to consider. I'm trying to be as careful as I can to make sure that these 2 bars are the same width. And we talked a lot about bias in class. You can't suddenly go like this because it makes it look like it's really, really more popular than it actually is. It has to represent on the axis, the y-axis, and I'm pretty close. But obviously you'd use a ruler. I don't have the ruler here. Third, yak riding. 9 people liked yak riding. So we're going to take we're going to put one right here, and we're going to go all the way up to 9. And another thing to consider, When you look at the descriptions of the sports on the x-axis, they're evenly spaced apart. That's very important. You don't want to have them be crowded or anything like that. To make it look, first of all, it makes it look easy. It's easier to read, but it also gives each one a fair weight. And finally, underwater tennis. There were 12 people who love underwater tennis. So this is our biggest one right here, and we're going to go all the way up to here. Oops. 12, like that. And so we got our bar graph done. Now, when I score graphs, I want to show you exactly what I'm looking for. There are 10 details that I'm looking for. And so this is a graph representing the chance of my road being plowed. It's going to absolutely be plowed when there's only 1 to 3 inches of snow. It's never going to happen when it's a whiteout blizzard and you have varying degrees of plowedness. So there's 10 details, and you can pause and look at this and see if you can figure out what the 10 details are. Number 1, obviously the big one is the title, a clear title, something that tells us exactly what we're looking at. Number 2, the description of the y-axis, so the chance the road will be plowed. Number 3, over here, description of, or the title of, the x-axis, and so in this case it's amount of snow, and it's really, really clear. 4, I want you to label y. 5, I want you to label x. 6, these are the actual descriptors that belong to the y-axis. The title was the chance that the road would be plowed, and I need actually these really specific descriptors. So 50-50 chance, most likely, absolutely. Obviously 7 is the same sort of thing, it's just the x-axis. So in this case it was the amount of snow, so I actually have to have the amounts labeled right there. 8, the bar, so proper representation of bars. Did you actually, if I look at your tally chart and it's recorded that it's absolutely for 1 to 3 inches, I need to see that the bar actually looks like it's at absolutely, or 50-50 chance for 69 inches. Did you represent it properly? 9, I want the spacing between, or the increments between the y-axis to be accurate. They have to be even. We talked a lot about this in bias, and this is one of the things we're going to do to make to mislead people. But we want to make sure when we're doing proper bar graphs that the spaces are actually even. And obviously 10, same thing for the x-axis. Make sure that the spaces are equal in between each set. You can't just like randomly say I'm going to make this one larger. And that's it, guys. Have a great day.